Your life journey doesn't stand still, and neither should your wealth. Welcome to Wealth on the Move, the podcast. All right, welcome back to Wealth on the Move. I'm Will Hoffman, your host, and I'm really excited to really just dive into the conversation I have with our guest today, Suzanne Campi, coming to us all the way from Silicon Valley. Michelle Walter, our previous guest, introduced Suzanne and I, and I'm excited to talk because Suzanne is a retirement coach. Now, we like to view what we do with our clients as, coaching through the financial aspect of preparing for retirement, whenever that is. And we know retirement is starting to be loosely defined. It's not age 65 anymore. It's not when Social Security starts. It's not even 59 and a half when the IRS says you can start to access your retirement money when you want. Folks are having a much, much different outlook of retirement. And listening to a couple other episodes that Suzanne has been on and checking on her website, I'm really excited for the conversation, especially because of the fun we've had leading up to the beginning of the recording here. But just a quick introduction about Suzanne. She's from SuzanneCampi.com. I'm just going to read what she says right at the beginning. She coaches people going through a big life change, how to use their transition as the spark to create the life that they want. And to me, that's kind of the exciting part about retirement. It's not figuring out how much you need to live off of or where the money's going to come from. It's now you don't have to go to work every day. Now you don't have a boss breathing down your neck or employees that you're concerned with. And now it can be about you again. So I'm excited to introduce Suzanne. Suzanne, welcome to Wealth on the Move, the podcast.
Thank you, Will. So nice to be here.
Yeah, and we had a great kind of conversation leading up to scheduling and recording, and then we just had a lot of fun getting ready to record with some technical issues and things. So, Suzanne, before we get into really what it is, can you give us a little bit of a background about yourself and how you got into the path of being a retirement coach?
Sure. Thanks, Will. Yes, I have a eclectic background. I did everything from sell real estate to I owned a fitness studio for 5 years, owned and operated 24/7.
Right.
And did a lot of recruiting in high tech. So the recruiting would come and go in between all my other interests. So when I stopped and looked back at my career, I thought, what do I have in common here what's in common with that? That's what you do as a career coach, right?
Sure.
Kind of look back and say, what's the common thread here? And my common thread was coaching, I would say nurturing people, which is my favorite thing to do, is help them get to their greatest self, help them realize their greatest self. So that's where I went. And I was coaching more as a career coach years ago. And I ended up working even at a career center. I had my own private clients. And then that ran its course. So when I looked at going back into coaching after my last recruiting gig, it's been a bit of a process. I've really enjoyed working with people on transitions. And then I realized, you know what? My peers are all sitting at the dinner table with a panicked look on their face saying, how am I going to retire? And it's not, I realized it wasn't the financial piece. Most of them had that figured out. And a lot of these were executive women. So they just had panic about some other area of their life. Some other area, which got me looking at, how many other areas are there, which is where I did create my retirement wheel. I took out finance because that's what Will Hoffman's for. You've seen him for that. And I am looking at all the other aspects of their life and how they can grow those, nurture those, bring them back. Some people have completely lost themselves and how to find themselves again and even reinvent themselves. So I just find it such a fun time. People are wide-eyed. They've got some fear, but that's where I step in and kind of grab them arm in arm and walk beside them and remind them how cool they are. Just remind them and get them to remind themselves more. Coach doesn't tell you. I've had people say, what do you tell them to do? I don't tell them what to do. I remind them who they are.
Sure.
And everybody's freaking fabulous.
Well,
they just have to remember it.
So, I mean, with coaches being so prevalent in the sports world, it seems like the best coaches are the ones who are putting players where they can succeed the most. and their
Exactly.
individual success helps the team and helps the team win games.
It's like good bosses at work.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Good
our job
leaders.
is to put people where they do their best work. And if they're doing their best work, the company will grow, the team will win, and
Right.
they're going to be fulfilled in the process as well.
So true. That's where we go is I get them to remember what brought them to this point.
Yeah.
Point out, find all those not innate traits, skills you've learned that got you to this point, and how can you take those in your new life?
Yeah.
Because you do get to reinvent. People forget that. You
Yes.
can completely reinvent. And you know what? Baby boomers aren't, and Xers, I realize I'm way closer to an X. I identify closer to the Xers. I'm gonna hold on tight to that. But boomers and Xers are doing it differently.
Yes.
We're doing it for ourselves. No, we are going to do it different. We're paving the way. We're not doing it like our parents did. We're just
and
not.
we had this conversation, and you said something a couple days or weeks ago when we had our initial conversation, and it's because we haven't had role models when it comes to this type of retirement.
Exactly. Exactly.
We get our, and to dig back into the financial part for a second, we get those financial traits from our parents or from our grandparents, and their retirement planning, if you even wanted to call it that, was okay, at what time in my life is my income going to be sufficient? And when
Right.
that income is sufficient between Social Security and my pension, that's when I'm going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to picking investments or doing financial planning. That was only for the ultra wealthy.
Yes.
And
So
the
true.
stock market was just for rich guys.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my pension. And now it's okay. I'm going to slide into the easy chair. I'm going to watch reruns of Western movies
Golden
and
Girls.
the Golden, right, and coast in through the next. And for them, and I hate to say it this way, but for them, they weren't planning on a long life in retirement either, because they weren't living the way we're living now. Our health
True.
is we're living longer than ever. We're having as long of a retirement as we had a career.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. We throw the financial stuff on our back.
Right.
But
right.
I think, and I think that the financial services industry has done a huge disservice to folks, not in how we've managed their money or given them alternatives, but we've been screaming that retirement is only a money concern. And every ad that we do for retirement is two old people walking on the beach, holding hand in hand and thinking, okay, we're going to give you enough money, go walk on the beach and hold hands. That's what you're going to do. And it's not.
Right.
And 45 years of walking on the beach and holding hands, your hands are going to get sweaty.
Yeah,
So we've got to find something else to do, right?
You can even get bored from the beach.
Yes.
Yeah. So true, but I wouldn't blame it on y'all, Will. I would defend my financial planner friends, because that's what they're going to you for. You can't be everything. Yeah, and you do. I mean, I know you touch on that. You say, what kind of life do you want to live? Because you have to prepare them for that financially. Right. So are they going to completely stop working? Do they have a pension? What's, you're factoring in as much as you can for what you pay. That's what you're paid to do.
Sure.
We just didn't look at my dad wasn't going, oh, what's my spirituality? Maybe I'll go to church more.
Right.
That just wasn't the way things were then. My dad made it through World War II, Battle of the Bulge. The last thing he was looking at is having a coach that says, well, what did you do to play when you were a kid? Because he would have said, I shot things on the beach. So things were just so different. So different. Right. So you can't really compare. But anyway, I let you off the hook on that. And honestly, when I have financial people say, yeah, we work with people on that, they typically say that because I say I'm a coach. I do, this, because there's so much more after you retire. And they'll go, oh, we talked to him about that.
Right.
It's like, no, you don't have the time. In your defense, you don't have the time.
That, or it's one question that says, what do you want to do when you retire?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and I love my peers. I think some of the best people I know are in the financial services business, but we ask that question and we stop listening because it's like, okay, we're just asking that question to build a relationship. But it's so important to understand what does your retirement look like? Are you going to say, okay, I can't wait to retire because I want to go start the business that I've always wanted to start?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's you've got an invention that you want to take and see what you can do with it. I would love to own a coffee shop on a running trail, but that's just my
Ooh, what a great idea.
secret. Go drink coffee and watch other people run marathons instead of me for a change.
Ooh, a portable one.
Yeah.
I like that idea. See, we all
So
have one of those, don't we?
sure. And it's usually out of something that we desire to use, and it's not being fulfilled right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so what drives somebody to engage with you to say, okay, I need help?
Mm-hmm.
What has been their breaking point to the point where they say, okay, it's time for me to turn to someone for some support in
Mm-hmm.
retirement?
They usually, I get them a few years after retirement when they've complained to a friend so hard that they're bored,
Okay.
that they haven't figured out where they want to go. And it's a little too bad because my goal is to get people earlier. And my forum literally has people who haven't retired yet, are looking at it in a year or two, which is it's when I would love to have them so they can start working this stuff through and really land without panic.
Okay.
I have people who are 5 months in, 10 months into retirement. Honestly, once they've retired and they really hadn't thought about those other 8 aspects, and I can run through them real quick. We look at legacy. We look at adventure and novelty. We look at spirituality, recreation and play, relationships and partnerships, family and friends, health and fitness, and purpose and growth. That's a lot. And when you think about that, that's a lot. That's
Sure.
like our whole life. And so this wheel, they fill it out and they see if their wheel's balanced. And nobody's wheel's balanced.
Right.
You know, we all have our
And
thing.
just for our listeners, the link for this is in our show notes. The link to the wheel. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to get a first-hand glimpse as how to get to that wheel. But access to Suzanne's retirement wheel is going to be in our show notes. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you, Will. So anyway, I quite often, once they've retired, they realize, oh gosh, you know, that was really fun, even for a couple months, maybe a year, to have no schedule, play pickleball when I want, go to the gym when I want. I really enjoyed not having a schedule, but I don't feel like I have any purpose. I don't feel like I have a goal. I'm out there kind of flailing.
Okay.
So I always say, be okay with a gap year if that's what it takes. You know, sometimes, and I was talking to a retired female fire captain yesterday, and she, you know, I said, I bet your nervous system literally had to chill out, calm down, literally physically calm down your system.
Everything she was doing, she was waiting for the bell to ring, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Interrupted sleep for 25 years. You might even have some physical detox you need to do. So I really encourage people to chill out and detox. Like the perfect client will get with me before retirement, spend some time chilling out, and then start working on, what is my purpose? What do I want to do out there? What legacy do I want to leave? And legacy is a big question. It's not just a financial legacy. My favorite question when I said, what kind of legacy do you want to live, was somebody said, love. I want my grandchildren, my children to know they were loved and be confident in that, even when I'm gone.
Wow, is that powerful?
So, yeah, isn't that beautiful?
And you can't put a dollar amount on that.
Exactly. It's just not always that dollar amount. And you know what? People are used to, especially I work with a lot of single women. They kicked it. They kicked it hard for 45, even 50 years sometimes, just going from school to work, to having to work twice as hard to have a seat at the table, to be seen, to be heard. So that is some high intensity stuff. And when they get done, they still want a to-do list because that's the way they run their life. They still want to keep their calendar tight. And then all of a sudden they realize, oh, shoot, nobody's really needing me. So there's a whole mental trip that goes with that. And so that's just working through the processes. There's so many different versions of retirees. And one thing they need to realize, too, is that wherever they are is perfect. People want to go on beating themselves up. You know, they're used to the performance review where they get beat up for what they don't do right. And you know what? It's just not that anymore. You get to reinvent, and any place you are is good. It's okay. I haven't found anybody yet that was in the fetal position on the couch or anything. So maybe not everything is good, but if you need that, maybe
What
you need it for a month.
everything you're saying, I have to ask you, have you ever seen the movie The Intern?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's exactly what De Niro was going through, and
It's been a while. I got to rewatch that.
it's a favorite of mine. It's just, I think it's a great movie about reinvention. I mean, he did retire, and unfortunately, his wife passed away early in his retirement, and now he was lost. He could only sit at
Yes.
Starbucks and read the newspaper so long before he was, you know, felt like he was running out of steam, and
Mm-hmm.
you know how he was
You
able to
get
help
depressed.
Anne Hathaway in her business was. It's a really good movie.
I gotta fire that up again. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, and there almost comes a point of no. It's not. There's never a point of no return. But if you go a couple years and you let yourself kind of be like, I don't have a purpose. I don't know what I'm doing, and kind of busy yourself.
Yeah.
There's some internal work that can still be done. You can work on. I would step them back into realizing who they were, and it would depend on the person. I know one thing people ask me a lot about my process. There is no one hard and fast process that works for everybody. There's just not.
Okay.
I need to know where they are. I need to know if they're more left brain or right brain. Can I get them into meditating? Can I get them to go to a spiritual center and spend a week just freaking in silence? That works for me. And
Okay.
I would love that to work for everybody, but it just doesn't. I know when I went through a hard time, when I lost my dad and went through a breakup in the same month, I went on 2 silent retreats. I wanted to not talk. I needed to just undo
Trying to
who I
even.
was.
I have 3 young children, so a silent
And
retreat is
so a silent trip to the bathroom is your dream, right?
the
Yeah,
20
that's
minutes I'm in
funny.
the office before anybody else comes in is my silent retreat, right?
Well, you're taking care of yourself if you're
Yeah.
doing that on purpose. That's awesome.
No,
We
it's
got to
not.
do what we can do. Yes, I remember those days. Can I just take a shower in silence without somebody banging on the shower door? But anyway, so, some people have run through, well, you got 3 kids, you're working full time, and, someday I'm going to be talking you into a detox. And that's if that works for you. Some people, it's like the worst thing they could think of. I don't want to be alone. Ew, all these
Yeah.
woo-woo quiet people. No. So I need to find out who they are before I waste their time on suggestions that they're going to be, you know, reach dead ears.
Yeah.
They
So
might be more of an action type person. No, I need to go to the gym every day and blah, 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 blah. Good, 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 good.
you'd mentioned, because one of my questions was going to be what processes do you use, but and it's kind of ironic you say that there's no one fit process because every financial advisor, and we're just as guilty. Somewhere on our website is a graphic or a video about our process.
Hmm.
But you're exactly right. That
But it's
process does
different.
not work
That's
for everybody.
different. Right.
And fortunately, there's so many different advisors with so many different processes that clients can find somebody whose process fits them.
Hmm.
But it is interesting that you say that because we found that folks, we think we're doing what's best, and I know in our hearts that that's our mission, but folks can look and say, well, I'm not getting much out of this, and it's not a performance conversation. It's not a stock market conversation. It's a, I don't feel that I was getting from my other advisors what I needed.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of it is a conversation that they can bounce from retirement plan to retirement plan or from investment to investment. But what they're searching for is something other than money during retirement. It's, my time is not spent how I wanted it to. This isn't looking the way I wanted it
Hmm.
to. How do I transition this?
Right. And that's not as hard as they think.
Okay.
It is about I'll tell you where I do start quite often, and this is where I've started with the forum that I'm have it's called the Flourish Collective. It's a forum of actually women right now who are working through this stuff.
Okay.
And I started them with, and this is a beta test, and I'll be running this, and I'm not sure it'll be a 4 or 6 month length time for people in the new year. I start them with stopping and reflecting on their career. So my theory is, in the transition theory, I know, Michelle, that you had as a
Yeah.
transition coach, and their transition coaches typically follow William Bridges' work, where he says, oh, every new beginning starts with an ending. And then
Okay.
there's a messy middle. I like to say miraculous middle, where all the magic happens and all the process happens. And then there's a new beginning. This is 3 phases, but it could go on for years, right? It could go on for a while. But anyway, how about the ending? Did anybody ever take a look at what just ended? Did you walk out of the office, get a crystal bowl, and get maybe a catalog? I know my friend, after a million years, just got a catalog. Here, pick something. You walked out Friday, you start a new life Monday.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird when you leave something so huge, like your freaking career,
Right.
and all of a sudden you're just alone. You're alone. You don't have people. You're alone.
Yeah.
Or like every family's looking at you like, oh, you must be happy, and you're like, oh, I'm not important anymore. So I asked them to reflect on that whole career, reflect on the people they touched, reflect on those lives they changed. A lot of these
Yeah.
women I'm working with are leaders. They've changed lives. They've left their own legacy. Look at the people that touched them. One woman said she wrote a thank you note to everybody who touched her in her career. What a
Wow.
beautiful. So looking at how you influence life and people, and how people influence you. So the gratitude side is important too. And I asked them to write a reflection on that.
Okay.
Write themselves a thank you note. Write whatever you want to write. We do a lot of journaling because I think so much process is done through journaling.
Mm-hmm.
So that really lights people up, because they're like, oh, I never thought of that. So we spend our life as humans, especially in Western society, racing through any kind of ending because we don't want to have to feel the feels that go along
Sure.
with it, right? Don't want to have to feel that. So I'm just going to fly. My mom just died. I'm going to go back to work because then I won't have to feel it, right? So I like them to reflect on that ending, and we can spend some time with that. And then they can speak it out to the group. Well, frickin' tell us how great you were. I want to
Yeah.
hear it. Own it. Just frickin' own
Sure.
it, because
Own it.
it's
I mean, what products
people
did you
are like, I
develop at
just
that
did it
business?
because I
Yeah.
had to do it. No, you left an impact, and it was
Yeah.
probably a good one because you made it this long. So that's where we start. That's where we
So-
start, and it really gets the wheels turning.
I do want to ask, and especially because with the the steps of going through, especially a corporate lifestyle, where somebody else makes their decisions on whether you're still at this company or not. In a lot of regards, for a lot
Right.
of people, their retirement isn't up to them.
Mhm.
They're told, okay, you're no longer needed here. Do you work with folks in that capacity whose retirement wasn't their decision? They feel like there was something that wasn't complete, whether it was because it wasn't their decision or they didn't get to finish what they started.
Yes, I have, actually.
Okay.
And in a couple cases where I have, people ended up seeing it as a gift. They were
Okay.
laid off, or they were forced into early retirement because they were the one over 50, and they're pissed at first.
Sure.
Pissed off because somebody just put a hitch in their giddy up.
Yeah.
That was not the plan. They're pissed.
Sure.
And it's really because it's like, I have my heart set on just riding this one out. I was just going to ride it out. And then boom, I'm
Right.
forced into retirement. We do some process around that. And then I have not one of them has said they would have changed anything, because they usually end up doing what they really want.
Right.
In the cases, I don't want to give away people, but they
Well, geez, it's
they
like
ended up
another movie. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen The Air Up There with George Clooney? And
yeah, that one.
when his
Ooh.
job's to lay people off. I
Mhm.
watch a lot of movies. But yeah, the guy from the Farmer's Commercial is one of the guys he lays off, and he says, when you studied culinary school, when was the last time you cooked? And he's like, yeah, geez, I guess you're right.
I probably wouldn't
the-
hurt me to watch that one again too.
Yeah, it's another good movie. I think a lot less of the theme of that movie is around reinventing yourself, and it's more around his
being
actually needing to be
heartless.
reinvented.
Yeah, that was interesting. I actually worked with a guy who did that, like literally, and close to the time that movie came out. And then I'm like, oh, it's what you do.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't really realize it until because he was dressing it up in different words. What he
Yeah.
did,
That'd
because
be
you don't
he's a
say I'm a
career
bill
transition
collector.
specialist. No, you're, you're right. No, you lay people off.
Career
You fly around
transitions.
the country and fire people. That's what you do. Sorry, I didn't mean to digress there again. So working with folks whose retirement wasn't up to them.
Ends up in the long run, and I'll even say this, even layoffs mid-career. I swear I haven't met anybody that didn't look back after a year or two and go, that was all perfect.
Yeah.
Because that led me here. And even like one of my favorite ones was one that said when she was first laid off after being at a company like 30 years, having her kids, having a lot of life events happen. She was she was the most shocked I've ever known of anybody laid off and the most in pain.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah. I mean,
she
I
said
mean, that
she
can be
did.
devastating. It becomes a part
You
of you.
lose your family. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to call work family, but those are the people you're with all day. And
Right.
the ones you love are the ones you love and you'll take
Right.
with you. But she did fetal position, she said, for about a month on the couch, binge watching. And then got a facelift because she looked real different. I'm like, she walked into it was a jobless center. And I'm like, I think that's so-and-so, but is it?
Yeah.
Well, got a facelift. And, then just started self-care and take care. And well, I'm older now and I got to go hit the trail. So her first job sucked. The first one she got did not work, but it led to the next one that was her next dream job.
Yeah.
And the whole process was painful and it was a couple years, but it ended up perfect. So
Great.
really, you're more resilient than you think. And as terrible as it feels at the time, people will kind of work through it in that messy, quote unquote, miraculous middle. They put a step foot there, they put a step there, put 5 steps forward and slide back down the hill, but they will get there.
When it's
tough.
that scenario that folks can't see that far ahead. They don't want to see that far ahead.
Well, it's hard when you're stressed out.
Well, but
yeah,
we financially want people to be prepared. There could be a moment when corporate America says, we're done with you.
mm-hmm.
And we have, worked with people through that process. And you're right. They're pissed. They're devastated. It's like a divorce. It's like a death in the family. And there is a process that you have to go through. And you're right. The next job may not be your bliss, but listen, we also don't want you to be sad
Mm-hmm.
and financially destitute.
Right.
It's tough enough to be sad. It's tough enough to be devastated. Mm-hmm. It's tough enough to grieve. Don't be grieving and go broke. Don't be grieving and then say, okay, I have to take a lousy job that I know I don't want because I have bills to pay.
And if you have to consider it temporary.
Yeah.
Consider it just what you got to do. And I feel like, especially if people are later in midlife and over 50, they can really blame everything on ageism.
Sure.
And I just don't believe in being a victim about anything. And I might point that out to them a little bit. But
that's a tough love that we have all needed at some point.
It is tough love. What energy are they bringing? Because I remember I had a guy once, I talked to him on the phone and I know when I turned the corner and they saw me, they're like, oh, they saw how old I was. And I said, well, what energy did you bring to that? It's not about the gray hair. It's about what energy did you bring.
I interviewed for many. You're going to get it, right?
I interviewed for many a recruiting gig after 50 and got them because I showed up. Yeah. And I showed up with energy. And even if you have to just struggle to pull that out, you need to get your head in the right place. And, I even tell people, go power pose for all morning. Get up, power pose. Get up, walk down your steps, power pose. That will physiologically change your state of mind. It gets so stupid that you'll start laughing. You've got to pull yourself into an energetic space that exudes some light.
Yeah.
It's real. Energy is real. It does emanate off you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're oh, yeah, I'm old. I know you don't want me.
Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So there's a lot of work we do with people on their psyche.
Yeah. So
my favorite thing.
The other circumstance that I want to ask about And this is the part that we see that really, I mean, it breaks my heart to see people in this position who are afraid to leave a career or a job or a business or a situation because they're afraid of what's on the other side. And,
Oop.
you know, we want to help the most we possibly can on the money. Hey, listen, you can afford to do this,
Mhm.
but they've worked so hard to build what they thought they wanted. And they've gotten there and
Mhm.
they're saying, you know what, maybe this wasn't what I want, but I don't want to give up the work that I just did to get here.
Is it they don't
And
wanna give up the work or they don't wanna give up the golden handcuffs?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what, I
Mhm.
mean, money's hard to, I mean,
Yeah,
Wu-Tang said it
I
best,
know.
cash rules everything around me, right? So it's tough to turn your back on some of those things, the benefits, the
Oh.
stock options,
Mhm.
the, hey, this company's getting ready to take off. I don't want to leave. And now that stock pops because I knew that, but I'm really not happy. Not
Mhm.
happy driving to work every day. I'm not happy where with the situation I'm in. How do you see folks come through that, you know, and that may be more of a life coach than a retirement coach, but,
Mhm.
you know, if they're at 60 years old and say, you know, I thought getting to the C-suite was going to be my bliss. I'm in the C-suite. This sucks.
Boy, you know, they usually have something that is a breaking point.
Okay.
Something they'll do that last drive in and go, "I can't do this anymore." Something will break them. It's a process. So they're in
Sure.
that process of, "Oh my god, I don't think I wanna do this till I'm 65." So that process goes on for a while in their head. So
Hmm.
it really does help them to speak it out with a coach or with somebody with you. They probably obviously have told you that.
Right. And to us, it's usually they've hit that breaking point and they say, can I afford to
Mm.
go in there tomorrow and tell my boss to take this job and shove it?
Well, there's two things. Can you afford it? Talk to Will Hoffman. And or can you afford it mentally and
Or can you
psychically
afford
and
not to? Right.
spiritually? Yeah. Can what are we weighing here?
Hmm.
And what I just talked to somebody like that. The only hitch in his giddy up was the benefits. And
Yeah.
that's sad. That just that pisses me off. That
Me
makes
too.
me sad
Well,
that it
and
has
I
to be
mean,
about benefits.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
yes, that's a tough
It
scenario
never used to be that way.
to watch and to live through, and yeah, that would be
Mhm.
tough.
So is there a way sometimes if they're looking at going with no income next year because they're going to be figuring out their new business, they probably can get the you call it Obamacare. Here we call it covered California,
Yeah,
but the Obamacare, they
hit the
probably
marketplace
can.
for
And
the
it's
yeah,
not that bad. It's not that bad if you're not making money. It's actually
yeah,
doesn't cost much. So looking at your options there might not be as dire as you think. So just I that's a point they got to get practical and start,
hmm,
okay, can I afford to stop and create my new thing? And what is the new thing? Do they have something there that's like right there, like their coffee truck? Or because if they want to do that so bad, I know somebody wants to open a beer, uh, one of those microbrews that's also a coffee shop
I
in
was
the
gonna say
morning.
I wouldn't mind
Uh,
opening a beer right now, but you meant
Yeah,
okay,
a beer, a microbrew shop. Can you, what? Do you have the money ducks in a row to do that?
yeah,
And can you make afford not to work for a year because you're not going to make any money for a year? So the practical part of that has to start with
sure,
you, and then it just has to go with their passion. What we'll get to the bottom. What is your passion? If you cannot sleep at night because all you picture is yourself handing people microbrews and explaining them to them, then you want it bad enough. You're going to make it work. You gotta want it bad enough.
yeah. When
Yeah.
it's, I wish we could all get paid for our passions. I'm very lucky that that I have the business that I have and the job that I have. It's I've always viewed this as I get to job, not a have to job. I really
Well,
enjoy
that's
what I do.
nice.
I
Yeah.
you know, love the team that we've built and that I get to work with every day. Um, Case in point, they can give me that tough love. I was probably being a bit short last week, and my longest tenured team member, Katie, was like, "Hey, what's going on? kind of not afraid to tell the guy whose name's on the sign, let's get it together here. This isn't you. And it just was a lousy week. So that's just what it came down to. But
Life.
that tough love is important, and hope that it goes both ways. We try to do that with our clients, and I hope they can tell us when they're not happy also, and know that they can tell us when they're not happy. I want to talk about the wheel of retirement, if that's okay. And I don't want you to,
Okay.
show us how the sausage is made, but how did you come up with the spokes on the wheel? And so you have these 8 spokes, and like you said, finance isn't one of them, because that's
For Hoffman Wealth Advisors,
right, and health and fitness isn't ours, because that's not what we do. But talk a little bit about how you came up with these spokes, and how you guide people through them.
There are so many iterations. It's so funny. I took a wheel of life. So my coaching certification started with the wheel of life.
Okay.
And they really highly recommend you run people through it to see where they're imbalanced. I liked that process. And I just felt like what I was seeing on average was a little different. This is pretty similar to it, but of course it had on it, they speak of legacy more as a financial thing. They also have work and they have finance, and I just don't. Another thing where I'm different is I put what I do, relationships and partnerships. That I don't want anybody to assume, and I'm sensitive to this, especially single women, that they're incomplete if they don't have a relationship or partnership.
Okay.
That just doesn't have to be. So that section is your real first tier people. And do you have those first tier friends, like literally that would come visit you in the hospital, feed you if something happened, really tight people. So I work a lot and primarily with women. I do have a lot of guys, so that's not, but I have, I'm seeing a real commonality with single women is that society's, first of all, going to shut them out a little because they don't have their title anymore. Then they're kind of invisible. And then, they don't have a partner, so something's wrong. And that's just not the case.
Sure.
And maybe it's more so California. There is so many single women that are perfectly happy where they are. And they're usually of the attitude, I would love it if somebody came along, but I'm not going to try that hard. My life is really good. I'm financially set up. I love my place. I like my dog. So they're happy. They have a lot of social activities. Their goal is not a partner. So to me, that was just really important to write that up in a way that we're not telling you this is what you have to have.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I, of course, being a former gym owner and kind of a gym rat myself, I'm not really a gym rat. I'm more of a yoga rat. I'm a yoga hiking rat now, and I've had to force myself on the gym to lift weights because I have to have that piece. I can be a health and fitness coach if that's what you want me to be, like primarily, because I love that. And I love to make it fun. Like kind of my underlying foundation is got to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
I when I own my fitness studio, people come in for their first vetting conversation, and they would usually look around all wide-eyed and frightened, like, I hate gyms. And then they would go, I hate to run. And I go, okay, you won't run. You don't have to do stuff you don't want to do.
Sure.
You just don't. There is a way to be fit without running. That's for sure. Because I found it, because now all that running will screw up your knees, I'm here to say.
Right.
So,
well, I hope
family.
are
you running?
Number 7. I've done 7 marathons, and I'm working on an Ironman right now.
Will.
So it's.
I'm so jealous.
Of course, I do also say when my dad, who says, you're 46 now, kid. You want to, you got to start thinking about the fact you're 46. And I said, yeah, but I got to make sure my heart lasts long enough to get these knees replaced. So that's.
You know what? Oh, okay. I have an example. My friend got his knee replaced. He's 70. Got his knee replaced 4 months ago. He's 100% back.
Yeah.
Like all yoga positions. You do. Like my need for speed is a little less the older I am now.
Okay.
And so I could not have lived without my runs earlier. I used to say it kept my children alive. They'd be dead if I didn't run. But it was my absolute stress release. And now my stress release has slowed a little. I really love yoga. I really love hiking. I'm lucky enough to have a big old mountain back there that I take my dog up. So I'm really lucky I found things I love. The one little piece I don't love as much anymore is the weight training, but I'll go do full body twice a week
Okay.
because we need that, especially at
Sure.
our age. We got to tug on those bones to strengthen them. So there might be something that's not your ballywag, but you could suck it up. You could suck it up.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of times to move on through the wheel that relationships, family, friends, relationships have kind of fallen by the wayside because people are so busy working, raising kids.
Mm-hmm.
At our age, sometimes working or taking parents through their last stage of
Yes.
life. That can all be so all consuming that friends, yikes, once in a while we'll grab dinner. So we really look at nurturing friendships again. And even I've one client who calendars her friends. She realized she wasn't taking good care. So she started calendaring them. So they chat, even 15 minutes on the calendar once a month or something. So you
Good.
really nurture and love on those people, especially the first layer in. There's a lot of people talk about the first tier, second
Sure.
tier friends. Take a look at who they are and nurture the heck out of that. That really hit me because I realized I have some friends literally from grammar school, and we get together like maybe once or twice a year. I got to nurture that more. They're the ones that know me more than anybody,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I have a core group of me and four other guys. We grew up together. I mean, I've known them for 40 years, and
That's
you're right. They, you meet somebody who you like now, but those 40 years, those guys know. They know your heart.
know
They know.
everything.
They
They
know.
do.
They know everything. You're right. They
Uh-huh.
know that. Listen, Will's blind ambition doesn't make him a bad guy. It just makes him a busy guy with blind ambition. But Will's had blind ambition for 40 years, and we're not going to hold it against him that, Will dropped off for 3 or 4 weeks because he was working. And, and the same thing goes for, they get that grace. They get that,
Yes.
they get off the hook whenever, because, you know them. You've known them for 40 years.
And they know everything. They know your parents, your family dynamic. They're the only ones that will sit and ask about. I have 7 siblings. They'll sit and ask about them by name.
Yeah.
We knew each other's parents. I love my one dear friend will always laugh at the things my mom said, or nobody else knows what my mom said. She's been gone since 2009. So to have somebody know that history on you it just gets more and more precious with time too. And you're right. I at 52 and I'm 62 now, we lost one of our 5. We already lost one. And that's brutal.
I'm sure.
That's brutal. So it just makes you realize how precious
Mhm.
life is. You just never know. But anyway,
So
I want.
someone does the retirement wheel, and
Mhm.
you score them 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, something like
It's
that.
1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. It makes a little wheel web that it spits out a little report.
Are you only focusing on the weaknesses?
No.
Okay.
Well, a weakness might not matter to you, and I
Okay.
don't know if I'd call it a weakness. I would just call it a lower score. But it might be something like, yeah, I don't have time for that right now. Okay, we'll ixnay it.
Okay.
It's up to them, but what it does is it brings to light. Oh, okay. And it's not just to work on. It's like, yay, I love it that I'm like going to my spiritual group. I'm meditating. Like that piece is so cool. It could get you to maybe where you wanted to teach classes in that area. You realize you're so strong. So no,
Okay.
it's not. It is not a test.
You're not developing a weakness, but you're steering into the strengths.
Yeah, and I really want people to do it fast. Don't think about it. We got to quit thinking so much. That's another thing we move out of in retirement. Quit analyzing everything so hard. You're not wrong. This is not a test. So, but easing up on themselves is a big part of it.
Okay.
They
And
come out of
that's what
corporate America.
after the wheel, the personalized report that you come up with for folks. That's what that
Mhm.
uncovers is, okay, here's, do we want to steer into the strengths? Do we want to develop the weakness?
Yeah.
What direction?
Yeah. It's up to them what they want to,
Yeah.
what they see, what's important to them. After I talk them off a ledge of there is no right or wrong, then they can ease into it.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll never look at it again. But it really does kind of open their eyes to, okay, I have all these aspects. It would really help if I looked at these so I'm happier in retirement.
That's awesome. And again, great stuff that I don't think that we've thought of. I mean, I know our profession, and I think we're getting better at it. I know we try. I think our profession's getting better at okay, we don't want to just fund the old couple on the beach. We want the old couple on the beach to be the old couple at the top of the mountain, or the, the young person who says at 40, yeah, I want to be work optional now because I want to work on myself for the next 45 years. We're planning for folks out in their late 90s. You have so much in front of you. And I know that that's our desire is to work with folks that say at 40, how do I do something else and something bigger than me and not worrying about a stock price or a quarterly review or I couldn't have gone that corporate route. It just wasn't for me I had 2 jobs prior to starting my own business. I had great bosses. I wasn't built to be a subordinate. Yeah. I wasn't.
I did it. I would do it in between those recruiting gigs. Recruiting is typically as far away from you corporate you can get being in corporate, because recruiters, if a good manager will leave a recruiter alone because we're all ADD. We all do it our own way.
Yeah.
And if we get the job done, just leave us alone.
Sure. And that's to your point earlier, that's a very Gen X trait. What's the deadline? What needs done? Get out of my way. I will get it to you. That's a very Gen X trait.
I love that. I'm proud of that.
Which with the interest in Gen X and the previous podcast that we did being focused on Gen X, I learned that. I ironically learned that from Michelle, which leads me into the next 2 parts of this, because I want to make sure that our listeners aren't, and we're definitely gonna seek your insight again and have you back through this, because Wealth on the Move it's not just about wealth moving. It's about humans moving and making sure their wealth is moving along with them. So we want to make sure that we are getting your insight from time to time as different things, different economic cycles change. I'm sure that the work you were doing during the financial crisis is going to be much different than the work that you're doing during this time frame, which is going to look different than the work that you're doing 5 or 10 years from now, because economic cycles do have an impact, whether we like to believe that or not. But Michelle, so I alluded to before, a podcast that I love to listen to and watch is Diary of a CEO, and he has. I've totally stolen this. Hopefully he's happy that I've stolen this.
Is that Jay Shetty?
His name is for and I'm going to look it up while we go through this.
Yeah, that's going to drive me crazy. I know I listen to him or watch him actually on YouTube's, right?
Yeah, but what he does is he asks a guest to ask a question of the next guest.
Oh.
So Michelle has given me a question to ask you, and I'm sure it's going to be of no surprise to you when you hear the question that came from Michelle. But so the question Michelle has is based on our conversation that we had on the last episode. She wants to know, how is your not enoughness showing up in your everyday life?
I love that. You're asking me that.
Yes. So she wants to know your answer. Our listeners are waiting with breath that is bated to know how your not enoughness is showing up in your everyday life.
Oh, that's hitting right to my
Stephen
solar
Bartlett is the Diary of the CEO.
Yes, I was just going to say that. It's going to drive me nuts too. That is my nemesis is I am not enough. It's interesting. I fight myself all the time. Every day there is some inner fight that goes on. Even when I started my course, my forum, I wanted to put it off because it wasn't good enough. It was not good enough. It wasn't good enough. I literally put it off probably for months because nobody's going to want blah, 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 the whole inner BS dialogue. And honestly, I have a coach.
Oh, wow.
My business coach finally was sick of me and made me do it. She's like, no, you're doing it. I go, well, I'm a really bad cold. Like, even my body was fighting me. My body was getting into the act, like, "Oh, I'll stop you. I've done this before. I've done this before. Oh, and then now my stomach hurts." I felt like I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she's like, "No, we're not changing the date." I was gonna change the start date. So that was a huge lesson to me. She tough loved me, and I need that. I don't know why
Yeah.
I need that, but, we're all human. I think the reason I am a pretty good coach is because I get people. I get it when you feel your weakest. I get it when you have imposter syndrome because it's me. It's like the therapist going into therapy to therapize themselves. But I mean, coaching, we're trained, is never about us. It's always about the
Mm-hmm.
so if I have something that I identify with in a person, that's still not about me. But what I get is every single freaking human has it. I
Yeah.
have a dear friend that is a big wig in Silicon Valley, sought after, poached, grabbed for every startup. And he is
Feel
so
free to give him
scared.
my business card, but
Okay. He's so scared when he starts a new job, like a child,
yeah.
scared. What if I don't know where the bathroom is? Who cares? Ask somebody. I have imposter syndrome. I'm not this good. I don't know why they're looking after me. Why do they want me? I don't know. Enjoy it. And
Yeah.
so what he made me realize though is that it happens to everybody, no matter who they are. Some people we wish had a little more imposter syndrome, but no, for the most part, everybody has it.
Sure.
And, I went once and coached the women of a very well known, I won't say it, Silicon Valley company that you all use. And those women, I have never seen such angst, such imposter syndrome, such I am not enoughness as I did at that company. And these were brilliant women. To get hired there, you're already on top of the world.
Yeah.
Young, brilliant. I had one of them because she called in for it. I was in their conference room. They go, "This one's coming in on the screen." She came in on the screen. She literally, I said, "How are you?" She started to cry and cried for the whole time. And then I was thinking, "Ooh, your face is like people are walking by looking in the window up at the screen." But she cried and cried and I have imposters. Everybody's smarter than me. I'm not
It was probably
enough.
so
I'm
cathartic
like,
for her to be able to
"What?"
go through that too. So
Yeah, I just felt so sorry for her. But and I thought, this is what she needs. She's crying from the tip of her dang toes, and
yeah.
she needed it. And my kids, and not enough for anybody. So I'm afraid it's an epidemic, and I'm one of them. But
Yeah.
it's an epidemic. We've just learned to be hard on ourselves. That's how we got here.
There's
So
a
it's a constant practice with me. It involves my spirituality practice. I meditate. Meditation really helps. And
yeah.
it's weird, but it does. So if you can't still your mind, that's okay. We'll still our mind when we're dead. We have plenty of time to have our mind still. That's not what meditation's about. It's about just bringing the mind back. Every time it
Okay.
goes away, go, "Nah, I want you back here. I want you back here." Or, well, the way I do it, because I do have the ADD mind,
Mm-hmm.
is I do guided meditations. So I have somebody walking me through a meditation in my ears. It's fabulous. I
Yeah.
use one person I really like.
I've for a long time. Again, you're not enoughness. Known I should be doing some sort of guided meditation because there's no way I could do it on my own.
Yeah,
And I
just get
just
somebody you like.
I avoid it because I know it's it's what's necessary. It's like going back to the gym for the first time in a long time. I know
Yeah,
I
it's
need to
hard to
do
get
it,
started.
but yeah,
Well,
there's a golf. I think it was the USGA did a commercial, and it was a guy that kept hitting a bad golf shot after bad golf shot, and he throws a club, gets mad at him. So come on, Steve, what is wrong with you? And then the voice chimes in, "Hey, go easy on Steve, Steve." And it's you know probably
that's
something that's not just golf related. All of us need to, let ourselves off the
mhm.
hook every once in a while. Okay. And now, what question would you like to ask our next guest? I have no idea who the next guest is going to be. You don't
Mm.
have any idea who the next guest is going to be. So what question would you like our next guest on Wealth on the Move to answer?
How about in your last big life transition, Did you honor what ended? Did you spend any time mourning or honoring or celebrating what ended?
Okay. Excited to hear.
Um,
Really excited to know who the next guest is first. And I'm
Yeah,
excited to hear their answer to that.
making them go inside.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that, I mean, that's true. I mean, think about it with relationships. Forget about career stuff. Relationships, did you honor
Yeah.
what ended? It wasn't all terrible the whole
No,
time, whether it's a
no.
friendship or romantic relationship or something that,
And if it's a romantic relationship, it's a really good idea to go back to the goodness of that person.
yeah.
You don't want to keep evil in your heart the rest of your life.
Nope.
And if you found somebody that wasn't good and put up with it for 20 years, maybe that takes some therapy. But
yeah.
that person, there was something good in
Mm-hmm.
them.
What's the thing about holding a grudge is drinking poison, expecting the other person to die.
Yeah, or not forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a waste of your time
Yes.
and energy.
Well, Suzanne, this has been a pleasure. I hope our listeners took a lot from this.
So fun, Will.
If our listeners do want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it?
Go jump onto my website. It's just my name, SuzanneCampi.com. Jump in. You can fill out a thing. You can grab a call through my calendar, and we can have a 20-minute. I might have it set for a half hour discovery call so we can get to know each other. No obligation. Or connect with me on LinkedIn and cruise around my LinkedIn to get a feel. You could do that too. Again, it's just my name.
Awesome. And as always, if you want to get in touch with us, hoffmanwealth.com is the best method for there. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, just under Will Hoffman, so chat me up there. But I encourage you and check back in. I know we're going to have Suzanne back as we move through the podcast and through topics and things, and to get her insight and just look out for more big things from Suzanne Campi. Suzanne, thank you so much.
Thank you, Will. Pleasure.
Look forward to the next episode of Wealth on the Move, the podcast. Until then, take care, everybody.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Hoffman Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.